See, I promised myself I'm not gonna like do a lot of effort in these as far as like production value goes. It's kind of the whole point. But a tripod would be very nice because I've got this balanced on barbecue right now, and that's probably not ideal. Also, it's raining. It's cool. Which has me wondering how am I going to continue doing these things into the winter? Like the whole point is the weird thing in the woods. I don't want to sit out here if it's like 10 below. It doesn't get 10 below in West Virginia that often. I don't think it ever has, but it was like in the low single digits last winter, so we could get cold. Also, I've dyed my hair. See, made a mess of things. Yeah. Okay, so first off, I will be at. I am recording this like September. I want to say 22nd or 23rd. I didn't look before I came out here, and it is roughly this weekend on the. I've got notes of how organized I am. The 27th and 28th. I will be at the Muddy Muddy Book Festival in Toledo at the Glass Metro Park. Glass City Metro Park. And listen to that, we got thunder. This is so cool. Like I think this is way better than production value, honestly. If you get thunder and rain, this like other than my my squeaky voice, this is like ASMR. I could start talking really quietly and then it could totally be ASMR, right? Okay. So where was I? But because of that, I thought, what am I going to talk to you about? We're not going to get Mothman today. He doesn't like the rain. Okay, just keep it here. What could we talk about? And I was thinking, since I'm talking about going to the Muddy Mommy, maybe I should talk about in-person events and table sales, which I'm not like a complete expert on. I've done them quite a bit, and I think I'm decently good at them because I'm outgoing and I like to talk to people, which is not an advantage a lot of writers have. A lot of writers are very scared, introverted cryptids who won't leave their desks unless they are drifted out or lured out by like a light or some coffee. But I do have a couple of tricks that I like to use, and my first one is my 3 questions trick. So not everybody's going to have this problem, but I have a problem of decision fatigue on my my table. This is Miss Vivian. She's not going to want to be up here very long because I have a lot of books. I have 50 publications, and I don't bring all of my books wherever I go anywhere because that would be exhausting and a lot of inventory. I try to bring my top sellers first in series for my big series, and then I try to plan based on where I'm going. Like if I'm going to a fantasy convention, I would probably lean into that. Whereas if I'm going to one that I know there's going to be a lot of families at, I might lean into my middle grade titles, things like that. But when you go up to a booth as a reader and you're looking at all the pretty covers and there's so much, it's, I think people, when they have more than like 3 options, they start to get that shut down feeling like it's too much to go over, too much information to process. And instead of choosing, they just won't make a choice, which is why I like to do the 3 questions. So the first thing is I'll say, hey, are you looking for a book of romance or a book of more adventure? And then if they say adventure, I'm like, well, do you want something more lighthearted and funny or more something, thrilling and fast-paced? And if they say that, and then I'll give them like one final thing, and it might be something very specific at that point. Like I'm trying to narrow them down. I might say, okay, dragons or superheroes. And at that point, I've got usually at least one book I can hold up and say, this is what I recommend. And that helps a lot, especially if, you see people who look like they really want to buy today, but they just don't know what. And also it gives them an idea that this book is made for them. This is a book that was picked out, handpicked for them. And you can fix that with your general vibe of what books you have available. Maybe you've got some that are romance, some that are not. That's one thing I have. Some that are made for teens, some that are not. Some that are scarier, some that are funnier, some that are sadder, some that have twisty twists. Just try to get what is this person in the mood for and give them the 3 questions. So it's quick and it helps break through some of that decision fatigue, puts a book in their hand that you can hand them and say, this one, you might like it. My next thought is parents. Now, this isn't going to apply if you only write for adults. So if you only write for adults, skip ahead to whenever I'm not talking about this. I have no idea when that will be, and I don't know how to do those little skip ahead things that you do in more fancy videos. So I guess you're just stuck here. Writing for kids, you are trying to sell. You're in this weird position where you want things that kids are going to love and be interested in, want, but you're also really appealing to the parents because the parents are usually the ones with the money who are making the financial decisions. Maybe if they're older teens that have like a job or something, that might be an exception. But for the most part, teens are going to, or kids are going to be dependent on their parents to make the purchases for them. Parents want different things than kids. A lot of times parents want to know, is there a good lesson in this book? Has it got wholesome values? Is it educational or something like that? And you have to find that way to appeal to the parents, while also like letting the kid know, hey, this is also going to be fun, I promise. This is not just all vegetables, there's some candy in here. I do find, though, if you go to a craft fair or a vendor fair that is not specifically for books, and you are like one of the only book vendors there, if you have a middle grade title, you have an advantage, because parents will be looking for something to buy their kids that's not super expensive, and craft fair stuff does tend to be more expensive. Like, the stuff that you would get is handmade, it's artisan, it's stuff that's, higher end, it's not necessarily cheap. So unless you're at one of those ones that has a lot of like cheap 3D printed stuff, which is also unfortunately coming to be a thing. But my point is that your book is probably going to be $10 to $20, which is a reasonable price frame, and it's something they can get for their kids, which a lot of the stuff there might not be aimed at kids. So I like to go to those places and kind of bring home, hey, you've got kids? Do you like this? So that's handy. So you need to learn to appeal. My point to this ramble is you need to appeal to kids and adults if you are writing for kids, and definitely try to, if you're in a place where you're the only book person, make it, this is a great present for a kid. Pitch is really, really important. So another trick that a lot of people have, you're going to hear this a lot, is have candy on your table or some sort of freebie. I don't usually do the candy. It's a pain to keep restocked, and I don't know. I just feel like if everybody's doing candy, it's going to be unwanted after a while. And some people won't take it because of allergies or whatever. But I like to have a freebie that I give, like stickers and stuff. They can be expensive, but they are fun to just like, hey, you take a thing. And if they have your branding on it, that means that they're taking your name home, and maybe someday that sticker will remind them to look you up online. Also, there are... it's bothering me that my hair is greasy today because I just dyed it yesterday and I didn't want to wash it, because once you start washing it, the color starts fading, and I'm trying to make it last as long as possible, especially because I've got the event this weekend. So, yeah, my hair looks a little greasy. Sorry for that. I think hair is going to be a recurring theme in these. That's weird. Where was I? Yeah. But I have like these little stickers I give out, and some of them you can do free with a purchase, especially if there's a cost to it. Like free dragon with a purchase was something I did for a lot of years. I get these little plastic dragons. I get like 36 of them for $12. I think is the current price. It's changed over the years, but still they're less than $1 a piece is the point. And I have these little dragons on my thing, and kids will come up and I'm like, well, it's free dragon with a book purchase. And sometimes people will buy a book just so they can get their kid a dragon. I almost got away from doing this my last book event I did was Realm Makers Expo, and because I'm leaning into the superhero, I was like, well, dragons really aren't my brand anymore. I'll do stickers and stuff for my superhero stuff instead of dragons. And one person came up to me and was like, oh, I've been getting a dragon for my kid every year at this booth. There's no dragons this year. I did have a dragon keychain for her because my daughter was selling her art merch, so I did have that. So she did get a dragon keychain for her kid, but because of that, I did go and immediately order dragon toys for my next event. So I will have dragons at Muddy Maudie, assuming they get here in time. I ordered them a little late, but they should be here Wednesday, and that's plenty of time for me to get there on Saturday. Another trick is ebook codes. You can have QR codes that scan to an ebook, so they can do a free digital download if you want. And you can also do this to your newsletter mailer, like sign up page, especially if you have like a free book for e-letter sign up, which I should probably do a whole thing on like newsletter magnets, because I used to actually work in email marketing for a little bit, and I know a little bit about that. And my last really good advice is to be memorable, because there's going to be so many people there, and a lot of people will do this thing where they will breeze through the whole thing. They'll go through the, like, walk around in a circle before, and they'll make notes, maybe take pictures, and try to decide what to buy. And you want them to remember you when they decide to come back to make their purchases, especially on like multi-day events. A lot of people will just spend that first day browsing and then come back on the last day and make their purchases, so they're not lugging around a bunch of stuff, or like they can make the most out of their budget. And So you want to be memorable. And that means openly engaging with someone, maybe making a joke, giving them a freebie, like a sticker, telling them something. It can also mean wearing a cool costume if you want. Now, you got to be careful with this because the aggressive sell, and I'm not even meaning just like sellsy sells. I mean being aggressive and like overly. My daughter was with me at Rollmakers Expo, and she was walking around. She was interested in a book, and the guy came up and was just really boisterous, and it scared her off. And you had to be able to read tells because she's like, I almost wanted that book, Mom, but the guy was just a little bit too loud. And I'm like, yeah, I get that because you're a sensitive little flower. She's not. But that's the point. It's like you gotta read the room. You don't want to go out there and just be aggravating and grating and annoying and rude, or making somebody uncomfortable. But you still want to make an impression on them, be friendly, make eye contact, smile, and tell them something, say something, give them some reason why your book is the one to come back for. All right. And finally, a lot of times at events, I have this thing where, now I'm not saying you should never go to an event to make money. You should always consider budget. And there's a lot of different things for budget. Like, do you have to travel? Will you need lodging? What is the cost of the booth? How much is your inventory? Will you need to buy food? There's all these like expenses that can make it hard to even break even on some events, depending on how expensive they are, how far they are from you. And that's always something to keep in mind. That said, there's always another reason that when I go to an event, I like to look out for the person I'm there for. And sometimes that is somebody who is a young writer who I'll get a chance to mentor. Other times it's like, there's this one time I was at like an event that was like a Christian fiction event, and I was one of the few fantasy writers there. And she comes up to me and you can tell she had a question, and I was hesitant to ask. I'm like, hey, and she's like, my granddaughter, she started playing Dungeons and Dragons. Do you know what that is? And I ended up having to explain Dungeons and Dragons to her. And about how, no, it's not, I don't know, what you might have heard in the 80s, but it's not that. It's not like the satanic panic stuff. It's mostly rolling a dice to get number statistics, to make character choices, to tell a story. And, it's not, you don't need, you're fine. Don't worry about Dungeons and Dragons, please. So she was, I was like, okay, maybe this is the reason I am at this event, is because somebody needed some assurance about their granddaughter's Dungeons and Dragons habit. I've had other times where at another Christian event, somebody came up to me and was like, oh, I saw your dragon necklace, and I was so worried because I write fantasy, and I was worried that people would be judgy about that. I'm so happy to see you wearing a dragon necklace. And that was a moment for me. And I think there's going to be something like that every time. And I love, like, when I go to Realmakers, I also mentor, which makes it a lot easier to find that person you're there for. But sometimes even just talking at an event table, you can find the person you're there for. That said, that's my take on in-person events. Do you have in-person events you like to go to? Do you ever go to buy? Do you go to sell? I'd be curious to hear. And Miss Vivian is just here sleeping and staring out the rain. She is just the cutest thing. Usually I have Alfred out here with me, but he's inside sleeping on the bed. And Miss Viv. Oh, I wonder if I should walk around here. Come on. It's a little bit wet, but the rain's mostly stopped now. You can hear distant thunder, but it's very distant. I think it's past. It's gone that way. Sun's coming out. And here's a sleepy kitty. Oh, she's like, what are you doing, Mom? Hello. All right, and thank you for joining me, The Weird Thing in the Woods, for yet another event.